I'm Sally Mills of Lavolta and Lavolta Principles, and welcome to Digital Bullets 2010. We've asked some industry experts to share their thoughts on issues and developments in the digital industry. We've given each person 20 seconds to answer those questions, or else they get the chop. So we'll be broadcasting a sizzling digital bullet on a regular basis. One question answered with many different points of view. Hope you enjoy. The online world creates new opportunities to collect data about visitors, consumers and customers, and therefore opportunities to mine and interpret that data, as well as opportunities to build a deeper relationship with individual consumers. Indeed, some people see data as the Holy Grail for brands. In your view, what are the major developments and inhibitors in this area?
I definitely agree, data is key. It's just that a lot of marketing people and also a lot of agency people don't get the value of data. Direct marketing, unfortunately, is a skill that is being washed down, and there are way too few direct marketing agencies that do understand the true value of data.
The problem you've got is interpretation of the data, and interpreting the data requires smart people, smart data analytical people, and they are very few and far between, the proverbial hen's teeth out there. So yes, collecting data is important, but then having smart people who understand how to interpret the data, not from a intellectual perspective, but from a hardcore business perspective, and how I can use this tomorrow is super important. And I think that's where the challenge really lies for businesses out there.
I think one of the biggest inhibitors is going to be concerns around privacy. As people become more and more aware of the data and how it's being used and how it's being targeted, concerns about privacy come up. And I think that'll be a massive inhibitor to growth in this area.
The amount of information you can get out of the data in the digital space is amazing, and I think we're so really only at the beginning of the potential of that data. Again, there are privacy issues around it, and there are some concerns there, but a lot of it is aggregate. It doesn't have to be driven down to the individual. In the mobile space, with where people are actually going as well, layered on top of that, that's, I think, where the privacy gets a bit more scary, but the opportunity is certainly massive.
The only way a marketer can influence someone is to actually find their way into their life somehow, and the only way to find your way into someone's life is to really understand their life, and the way to understand their life is to understand the data. So I think data is the future of internet marketing, no question at all.
The things that are stopping it to some extent now are lack of adopted standards, but we're starting to see more and more data being provided in a standardised format so developers can take it and actually do something with it. So, watch that world of the combination of data and crowdsourcing, to me, is what you'll see really big in the future.
Data is a really interesting area, but there's often more emphasis on the collation than the analysis, and the real value is in the analysis. I think the investment maybe is in how much we're collecting. So for me, and I think most marketers I've worked with, they don't want a whole lot of data. They don't want mountains of numbers. They want the right data presented in the right way.
I think it's really about privacy of that data, and there's a huge amount of conflict going on in Congress in the US about privacy, about cookies, about who has access to what data. So I think privacy is going to be the number one issue around all data and use of data, and Australia will be no exception.
I think every retailer that we speak to and every marketing department within retail really want to and have the incentive to build a one-to-one customer relationship, and doing that through data. The challenge and the inhibitor to that is normally technology. It's difficult to put this into place, especially for a multi-channel retailer. So I think the big trend will be more data and more accessibility, and being able to use that in practical ways to benefit multi-channel retailing.
The major development isn't really a major development. We've been collecting data on consumers for a long, long time. Most of the ad servers have had all sorts of capabilities around data for 10 years. I think it's more just an awareness at the advertiser level about the richness of the information that we're now collecting about people, and I'd stress it's usually anonymous data unless people have opted into it.
I think data really is the Holy Grail, at least it will be for the next few years. We've been talking about CRM for a number of years, and it's really only starting to come to the fore now. The major inhibitor to that will be the databases themselves. Now, we've been speaking to clients about about doing campaigns based on a database, yet they haven't invested in building that database in the right way. So they may not be collecting mobile numbers. They may not be segmenting the data the right way. So I think we need to encourage brands to start investing in building a database.
The complexity of data, we're dealing with such massive amounts, regardless if it's in a cloud or on your own local server. How do you actually mine that information and be of relevance to you? So we're going to have to see really smart engines developed or be developing to be able to get access to make that data useful. The other issue there is that all the data that we have, that companies have on people. Again, I think this decade we'll start to see more public unrest about the amount of information that the companies and governments have of what people are doing online.
The more data that's available, I think is a positive thing when we start to then integrate CRM data that's available, as well as location data. Then there are some great opportunities to make communication very relevant and very personal to those customers.
I think the major developments in data will come in interpretation, turning information into knowledge.
I think it's a two-edged sword. Data can be used incredibly intelligently, but it can be used very poorly as well too. I think it's a matter of finding that balance.
I think the inhibitors are really around the plethora of tools that are available out there, many of them of which are free. And people don't know what to do with that data. So I think the real solution is, once you've listened and you understand the how, and you've identified the who and the why, really the next step is to break through that inertia, is to be able to draw actionable insight from that.